Hey, it's me. It's me. It's DPD. That's right. Dominic D'Angelo here. My middle name's Paul, and I'm here. It is Rumor and Innuendo. I am solo today. Robert is on assignment, so I will be covering all the wrestling news that we got going on here this week. I watched AEW The Maximum Carnage. Not all of it, I'll be forthright. I need to catch up on some of it, so I will cover what I did get to watch. And what I did see, I liked. It'll be a fun one to cover here today. I want to give some shout outs to some folks in the chat. A good day to Johnny Disco. Good day, R&R. Let's go. Alt Jake says, good morning, all. Rest in peace, Mr. Baseball, WrestleMania legend. Yes, the passing of Bob Uecker, 90 years old. My goodness, what impact he put on the sport of baseball. You can't help but think of the notorious Major League movie where he was the commentator, and his WrestleMania impact too. The WrestleMania 4, I believe he was at. And man, just a great character, sports persona, amazing. Like the guy called Milwaukee Brewers games like up until his passing. Pretty remarkable. I will say, I believe it was last year, I made an effort to reach out to the Milwaukee Brewers to try to get an interview with Bob Uecker, talk a little bit about his wrestling history and ties and everything like that. I did get in touch with their PR guy. I flat out asked, and he said that they were not doing interviews and stuff like that at the time. So never came to fruition, but I tried to make the effort. How cool that would have been. Man, yes, big fan of Bob Uecker, not just as a baseball player, but as a persona. Really left an impact on sports and provided that levity that I think sports and society just needs. So rest in peace to Bob Uecker. What a run, 90 years old. Holy smokes, what a life lived. So much accomplished. So hats off to everybody, to him. My best prayers to his family and fans and Bob Uecker himself. So there we go. Let's see. Solo Dom. That's right, Jeff Henninger. Get ready for AEW type overrun. Yeah, we'll see what goes on. I have an interview coming up here a little not too long afterwards. I will be speaking with Tessa Blanchard ahead of TNA Genesis. So you can check that out eventually on OneTrueSportTV.com. I might put it on FourHorsemenNetwork.com too. But considering her ties with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. Well, not Greg Gagne. Sorry, Tully. So there we go. So be on the lookout for that. I have an interview coming up here later today. If you have some questions, be sure to pop them into the chat. Maybe I'll get to them. So should be a fun interview. I've never chatted with Tessa before. I've met her before, but I've never had an interview with her. So should be a very interesting one. So there we go. All right. What's up, Triple E? Let's see. How do I want to start this? I guess, yeah, we'll start with Maximum Carnage. Show kicked off. Kenny Omega's return to the ring against Brian Cage. And my big takeaway, so I didn't see his New Japan Wrestle Dynasty match at all with Gabe Kidd. I heard plenty about it. But so this was my first visual of Kenny since he's made his in-ring return. And man, you need him right now. AEW needs him right now. The way the look, the presentation, everything that you got that we expected from Kenny since the dawn of AEW. We have not gotten this Kenny. And this is the Kenny I think a lot of people have been waiting on. Now, the previous iterations of Kenny were the kind of like he loses, right? He loses, and so he questions himself. We had that for a little bit. Then we got that great heel run where he had the Harley Race chops and mustache, and I really liked his world title run at that, and he felt like a big deal at that point. But then we got just tag team champion Kenny, just very, and like he dealt with some injuries too, I believe, before getting diverticulitis, so he was on the shelf a good amount of the time, obviously. So we didn't get the full-fledged Kenny Omega. It seems like we're going to get this Kenny here, the one we've been expecting for quite a while. I don't think it's too little, too late. Um, I mean, obviously the landscape has changed. With WWE really building up momentum and getting Cody and CM Punk and Jade Cargill and Penta. So yes, the landscape of AEW, the wrestling industry, has very much changed since we've gotten to Kenny Omega, and but but he's still a viable asset, and you can tell him going up against Brian Cage was a really fun matchup. I like the involvement with the Don Callis family, Lance Archer getting involved, eventually Kyle Fletcher getting involved, then ultimately Will Ospreay and Takeshita getting involved as well. So I think they're setting some things up very nicely. My big thought and my continuing thought was the fact that Kenny and another set of stars should be a very valuable thing for AEW to consider when moving on, and hopefully they move on from this Death Riders angle. I will say, I honestly I did not see the development of what happened at the end of the show here when it came to Powerhouse Hobbs and John Moxley. I do know Samoa Joe made his return. Obviously, I titled the show that way, but I have not gotten to catch that. So I'll cover that a little bit more in detail tomorrow when I am on, and Robert will join me too, so we can give a kind of a follow up on some of this stuff. So I'm only touching upon the stuff that I really saw today, but I think Joe returning either way feels like a big deal. They need it. There's stuff in place. There is stuff in place here. What even from this first half of the show that I caught, I thought that what they presented and how they presented it and who they presented, AEW can be on the right track here, and it doesn't take too much of a tweak to do that stuff. So they're in a good spot. They're in Cincinnati. I don't remember the name of the arena, but I did see even before I tuned in that Sean Ross Sapp is Fightful, friend of the show, happened to mention how he never been to this venue. He's from the Cincinnati, Kentucky area, and he was there, physically there, and so he was taking pictures and saying how unique the venue is. So I made a mental note of that before I even tuned in. And yes, this place looked really unique. It kind of almost it looked like a cage kind of fight thing, almost like because the way that it was set up atop, the balcony had like some barriers or something over top, and it kind of gave that like fight feel to it. So I liked that stuff, and thought that was really well done. Alt Jake is not a fan of Sean Ross Sapp, but hey, different strokes for different folks. I've met Sean several times. He's a great person, and yeah, he does a good job. Listen, you come at the king, you best not miss. Right now, he's the guy. He's the guy in pro wrestling journalism, and I think what he does is pretty darn thorough, and he's on the ball with a lot of stuff. And so, slings and arrows are going to get thrown at people, and the criticism will be out there, but that comes with the territory. It comes anywhere you go. So yeah, I mean I understand everybody's kind of feelings or whatever when it comes to opinions. You can have your opinions on me. It's totally fine. I get a lot of hate, and that's totally fine too. That's it. That's what makes the world go around. I don't think I think you just you roll with the punches, man. You just roll with the punches. Everybody, no matter what you do. So there. I think that's it. So you know what? We might have a special guest here. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this thing going here. But yes, I thought that Kenny, Brian Cage, that opening match was great. A lot of fun, and they did a good job at presenting even both guys. Nobody really expected Cage to lose. Cage to win. I thought that he did the job well, and if you really want to continue to heat Cage up, I think you totally still can. Losing to Kenny is not a big thing. The only criticism that I potentially had with that match was some of the covers that Kenny made. Like he hit him with the running knee and did this lackadaisical cover. not a huge fan of that stuff when it really happens, because you just want to fight to get the win and all that stuff, and that doesn't really convey that too much. Minor criticism in the grand scheme of it all, because I did enjoy the match, but I still think that it's I never kind of a fan of that. I'm always kind of monitoring that when I see it now. I happened to do social media for William Regal's podcast when he was there, and they did an episode. Him and Matt Kuhn did an episode where William Regal was really detailing how much focus attention on getting a pinfall, and I thought. And now I always consider that when I'm watching wrestling. I'm always looking for how good the pinfall is and how much that looks like it. So I think that was great. Like, that opening match was good stuff. Up next, what did we have? I want to make sure I covered everything here. I should have put the results up on here. But let me say, I might be going out of order here. What I did like, hold on, before I even do that, let me just make sure I get this set up here. Okay. Yeah, Ricochet comes out. Again, great presentation to somebody there. Hey, special guest, when you're here, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go on. All right. We got a special guest.
What's up?
It is not Robert Karpelis. It is Kevin Kellum.
It's Robert Karpelis.
Man, very unprofessional, eating on the air, Robert. Very disrespectful.
I gave you the thumbs up at the worst possible time.
Very.
I'm working for peanuts.
Oh, are you? Planners. Oh, man.
There you go. What's up? I'm Kevin Kellum from sportskita.com. What's up?
That's right. How are you, Kev? Thanks for joining in.
I'm well, Dominic. You gotta give me that hot tag, buddy, when you need me. I'll hop in when you need me, pal.
I may. Okay, yeah. Thanks for tagging in. I appreciate it. Let me see.
Ball is beautiful. Ball is beautiful, buddy. We gotta make it work. We gotta make it work. But Dynamite last night.
Yes.
Love the vibe. Love the vibe. I know you touched on this already.
Yes.
Loved the vibe in that venue they had in Cincinnati. It was the Music Center. What's the name of it?
I don't know. It was a cool arena, though, right?
It was good for, all right, if we only have 1,500 people, if we only have 2,000 people, like, they're right on top of the ring. You could see people like kind of like casually sitting through that like mesh fencing. I enjoyed this. This is good. Mm-hmm. Run these buildings.
Yeah.
This looks cool. Instead of a cavernous arena at some college campus somewhere that has 10,000 seats that we can do about a third of it or a fourth of it or half of it. And then we have a pay-per-view where we have like 10, 15,000 people. Mm-hmm. I dug it. You liked Ricochet coming out there?
I liked Ricochet. I liked, really enjoy what he's doing. The fact too, I mean, that he kind of let the crowd feed the segment a lot in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, I'm going to wait out and a layout and let the crowd react. That cultivates, and I don't know if this was in his intention, but that kind of cultivates that heel heat you're really looking for when it comes to, you think about Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
You think about that, like that, that's automatically what I associated with it. He's getting
immediately. You took the word. I literally thought of that when you brought that up.
And it's just like, you lay out for that. That gives that moment that you're looking for. You're maximizing your minutes by doing that. If you're Ricochet,
it cues up the fans going to the next show. Oh, this is the bad guy. I don't like
it. Exactly. And so, okay, this is somebody that we hate on, that we can all collectively hate on. And
there's a joyful hatred, joyful hatred of the person.
People want to hate on him, and it's a great
hate.
Mm-hmm. That's it. No. And I love the look he has with the glasses and everything like that. It's just, I'm excited to see what they do more with him and Swerve. They're setting up something really, really cool with these guys, I think.
Yeah, they've been getting to it for a while. There was a lot of angles that were somewhat similar of, I'm going to come out. I'm going to say something. I'm going to get you. Then I'm going to get you. And then you're not going to see this. And Swerve, for lack of a better phrase, somebody hits you with the chair. And then I'm going to come out. I'm going to do this. And the show almost ended with something like that, but in reverse.
Yeah.
And so not everything on the show is great. I'll say that. Not everything on the show is great.
Well, okay, so I don't know if you saw how much you saw of it. I didn't see all the show.
Saw most of it.
Okay, you saw most of it. So I didn't see the ending, like the second half.
Are you watching on Max? Are you watching on?
I'm watching on Sling, so I have it.
Okay.
I record to my DVR and then I watch it. So I was watching it like while when I got off of work this morning. So
I had it on Max because I like that. I have all the streaming services, taxes, write it off, do our job. You try and write it off, right? So I have it on. You have the commercials. It's not too bad. You can watch it on demand, and it's set up very similar to Peacock, where you can jump in and start from the beginning. The president had an address last night. You pull up Max, and then the next thing over is AEW Dynamite's live. I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. It's just wild to see them next to something like that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm jumping in. I want to say like 45 minutes in, enjoying the show. There was some choppiness with the image.
Oh,
a little bit here and there, but not severe. But it would always be like when they were coming back from commercial, the image would be that. And mind you, that could just be my internet connection. I have no problem saying that. But I was texting with some friends who said they thought it was kind of coming in choppy themselves, but it would kind of regulate itself every like 4 or 5 minutes. So they're getting used to that. Dug it. MJF and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
What did you think of this?
So I understand the criticism when it comes
they
to...
went face to face. They're teasing a match. They're going to get... I think we're going to see them do a match on paper.
Oh, heck yeah. You know what? But I'm invested into this. I like both guys. I like, what MJF had to say, like, and his interaction with the crowd. It's just like, it is that old school kind of vibe. And I said this to Robert, like, I think it was last week after Dynamite, was that, MJF's a student of the business, and he's already... And before Jeff Jarrett even showed up in AEW, MJF was doing like homages to, Tennessee, Memphis, and all that stuff when it came to the Fargo strut, all that stuff.
You can get the sense of the joy he has.
Yes. He's enjoying what's going to happen here. And I think Jeff is enjoying what's going to go on here too. So the content, like, people have been kind of giving a hard time about like the call girl stuff and saying some of that stuff. I get it, but it's also,
Jeff Jarrett calling MJF's girlfriend a Canadian call girl, and also calling his mother a call girl.
Yeah, I don't know all the context to that behind what the information. The television product did not provide me with previous information, knowledge of this. So where is that coming from exactly?
Was that a revelation? I mean, I've never heard.
I never heard anything to that effect. So that's where it threw me off a little bit. I don't think in the grand scheme of it all, it's like, oh my God, this is so, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Not prehistoric, something akin to that. It doesn't necessarily hit me that way, I don't think. But
I mean, MJF was getting a reaction, kind of making those subversive, you're a raging, recovering alcoholic. And he's doing that smart ass MJF stuff. Whereas, and brought up Owen Hart. He's like, you're only famous because your friend passed away, which I thought was like, dude, that's pushing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was like, you're walking up to the line of decency and not just crossing it, but dancing on it, and then the call girl thing I thought was like that. And she's with 10 wrestlers in the parking lot. I was like, whoa, dude, like, what is this, the 80s or 90s? Like,
I think that, kind of Memphis, right?
Well, that was kind of the tone they're going for. Yeah. We have more attitude than WWE. We're gonna have we have blood in the main event. We're gonna have someone get their earring bit off, and we're gonna have a bunch of runaround stuff. So it wasn't like all bad. But is it wrong if I love Jeff? I really do, and I appreciate him. He's someone I've met a handful of times, and I think he's a good guy. I think it's a tough duty to get in there and cut a promo with MJF and stand with him, because he's just somebody that people just expect these, for lack of a better phrase, pipe bombs from. Mm-hmm. And I thought he dropped some decent lines on him. I still think he'll be a valiant babyface, because even people that enjoy MJF enjoy booing MJF. Mm-hmm. And he's a heel you like to see be a heel, mm-hmm. A cool heel, but a heel nonetheless. And I think Jeff could have some good stuff with him. I didn't think it was great. You know what I mean? Is that fair?
I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it is.
But I did think, I was like, all right, you guys are trying something here. It did feel like it went a little bit too long.
A little bit. I think to the point of Owen, if you look in the grand scheme of it all, like the Owen Hart Cup happening, mm-hmm. Jeff's ties to Owen, obviously his long-term friendship with him and his history with him, I think that is appropriate. Like, I know it kind of hits people like, oh my God, you're talking about this. Like, this seems like lowbrow. I don't necessarily get that. I think if you're doing this with anybody,
there was a lot of wrestling in it.
I think if you're doing this with anybody, Jeff is the appropriate person to do this with. If you're doing it with somebody else,
he seemed comfortable. I mean, I can't speak for him, but I mean, he kind of had like a smirk on his face while he's saying all this severe stuff about him, and then they had Karen get involved. His wife.
And I thought,
and she got physically like tangled up by MJF. He didn't like put a sleeper on her, but he grabbed her and it was, to me, I was like, you could have saved that for another interaction, another week.
I'm curious what they're gonna do. Is there gonna be a little something where
It felt like a go home promo. You know what I mean? It felt like they were doing like all this, like, let's hammer the needle down on this issue and really make it intense and give you a little bit of, oh, he went too far and he touched that other man's wife, and now they're gonna have a fight on Sunday. It felt like it was like that type of angle. Like if they told me they were gonna have a match on Collision, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? But that's also kind of jumping the gun. I'll say this is a critique of MJF. I don't think he wrestles enough. I don't think he's in the ring being physical enough. I think just have him come out and be in the suit and cut the promo is underwhelming. And you have too many top level guys in AEW that don't get in the ring on a semi-regular basis. The Bucks aren't there, and he just came back. That's 4 major guys that you don't see in the ring regularly, Right. And I like, that's one of the things I'm like, those are all stars. Like, why are they not? I mean, Kenny was healthy, Bucks, we don't know the exact issue why they're not there. And it's, to me, it's just like, come on, like you have too many people that are injured and too many healthy scratches, or a guy just coming back. Like, also, where was Kenny? Kenny just came back last week. We didn't see him on the show. I mean, we didn't see enough of him on the show, but they were doing video packages. I'll give them that. The video packages were smart. I think with the Max audience, they may know that there's a lot of people that are watching for the first time. So they're trying to give you the context of the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, and the why. And
they did that with Kenny at the opening match too.
Yeah, and they did that a bit. But I mean, I would have liked to see him on the show. Sell some tickets. You know what I mean? Your back is up against the wall, and you should be playing with all the aces you got in your deck.
Yeah, like I think they could have followed up maybe with a promo afterwards or something like that with
something pre-shot.
Yeah, something pre-shot or anything like that. I thought like I said at the start of the show, I thought the opening match between him and Cage were great. But when it comes
I missed the match with him and Cage. That was the biggest thing I haven't caught up on the show yet.
So yeah, I thought it was a great way to, I think, kick things off.
I looked foolish. How did he look? How did Kenny look?
He looked great. Like he looked. I said too at the beginning of the show here that I think it really speaks to the star power of Kenny and what we've been waiting for with Kenny since the beginning of AEW. I think we're kind of getting this Kenny that everybody's been waiting on finally. That we haven't gotten in AEW. Well, we've gotten in New Japan, but like now, this is the time where we're kind of getting this Kenny. And I think this creates some opportunities for AEW to kind of make good on certain things in a very different landscape than from when they started. But I also think that, this can be a pivot. He can be a pivot from now. I'm on the opposite of your side. You saw the ending of the show. I did not see the ending of the show, but I've been thinking this Death Riders angle has been dead in the water, and I think they need to get away from it. So
we get the main event. You want to jump to that?
Let's talk about it. Yeah,
let's jump to it. They've built up Hobbs for this, but there's no inclination of Jon Moxley losing the AEW World Championship, which is inside of a briefcase somewhere, which I think is the best. The best thing in the Death Riders is this silly, let's make sure you don't see the championship, it's in a briefcase thing.
Sure.
I think that is the most compelling, interesting thing they do.
Yeah.
They don't let you see the championship. You can only see it in past context, maybe in the future context, but in the present, it is hidden. It is used as a weapon, as most championships should be, for the fun of let's just grab something and bash somebody with it, wrestling, right? But I love that. Now, outside of that, this felt like Triple H 2003. Surround me with people, surround me with different people. Like the worst parts of Roman Reigns, people say that all of his matches have interference. All of Jon Moxley's matches have interference. Jon Moxley's third title reign with the AEW World title has been deeply, deeply underwhelming. And it isn't really on him. The context of what he does isn't clear. If you're not serious, then you shouldn't be in a match with me, and you're not serious. And they're gonna have him be in this 12-man tag with the Learning Tree, who are a mid-card goofy group built around Chris Jericho. And I don't say goofy disparagingly. They're just out there. Their approach is much more lighthearted, whereas the Death Riders are ruthless killers. Like we're ruthless killers who all visually just look the same. They don't. There's no defined look about them. They just kind of dress like they're there, but they're not wrestling that day. Like there's no color scheme. There's no approach. There's no uniform. I'll say this about the Bloodline. When you knew the Bloodline was there, they were red and black. They're wearing black. They have a look. They have a feel. Everything about them is lined up and dialed in. You know, whereas this is my Goon Squad. These guys are my goons. Like, and you can't have a goon squad. You have to have a team of ruthless assassins. You know what I mean? And I don't get that sense with them. And on top of it, I mean, Moxie's out there busting his ass with Hobbs. I don't know if there was an issue during the match, but there was a lot of signaling. There was a lot of signaling that you could see. And this is just me doing commentary and producing matches. Whenever that happens, there's a sense of we have to hit something on a time. Yeah. And I got the sense that there was some type of issue with that. Also, this show aired, this match aired at like 9:08.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow, really?
So at least for me, maybe I was watching.
You're Central Time.
Yeah, but I may be watching on like a live tape delay. So maybe I was just behind on time. So maybe that was part of it. Like I'm watching on the DVR, so I'm like pausing, going to that. So I'm like, probably fine, right? Heck, I was a dork. I didn't even see the main event. I'm talking about Kenny Omega not being. So whatever. So I'm watching this match. I'm enjoying it. They work the knee. He gets to have all the different interferences. Marina Shafir hits him with something. Wheeler Yuta hits him with something. So they didn't want to make Hobbs, who's this big powers guy who won this big battle royal to get this title shot, who got his knee injured by Jon Moxley in a separate match. And they kept playing on that, which I thought was great. They did that on commentary, and that was legitimate. Mm-hmm. Here he is getting beat up, and he takes the Death Rider DDT, the paradigm shift, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah,
and he kicks out of that, but then he gets choked out. He gets choked out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, if you're going to do all of that interference, just go with the interference schmaz thing. We can't beat this big bad dude. Come out here and everybody beat him up. And then just be chicken shiz heels who say they're serious. Yeah. That's it. You at some point, and I mean this in the right way, you got to pull Jon Moxley's pants down and say, dude, you're full of it. You are a parody of yourself. You are not the guy you say you are. You talk about being this like badass, loves to fight, and everyone has to be serious. And you have like 4 guys around you all of the time. All of the time. You can't get it done on your own. Why don't people say that? That was the one super aggravating thing about Roman Reigns when he had the bloodline. Mm-hmm. I was like, this he's not Darth Vader. You know what I mean? He's dressing and acting like him, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's me and my whole family are going to beat you up. Which is that's Ric Flair, 4 Horsemen stuff. You know what I mean? Like the psychology is counter. I'm the ruthless, mean, badass. Like, and like they come to like, I can't show ass. No, I'm really cool. But you guys want to interfere for 45 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, and we enjoy it. It's the gaga, right? Whole bunch of gaga. But this could have been great. It was just good. It was just good.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'll give them this though. They were trying to do storyline stuff, a whole lot of storyline stuff. So they lace his leg up in a chair. They lace his leg up. We're gonna continue to severely hurt people and injure them, right?
Right.
And maim and all these different things. So they go to do this, and then Cope, hate saying that, Edge, Adam Copeland comes out with FTR, and they come out after his leg got crushed in the chair.
Yeah, it's a little questionable.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And then this is after Moxley's all bloody and running around. He gets his ear bitten off, which I thought was pretty cool. Or part of his ear was bitten off.
So wait, what happened? How'd that happen? Hobbs bit his ear?
Hobbs bit his earing out. That's how they wanted to start the match. And there was a ton of blood all over the ring. Not like a lot, but like enough where you're like, ew. They're doing the overhead shot. You're like, ooh. You like one of those?
Yeah.
Things, You're going to have to wash the canvas, So, they have that, and they come out, and they I guess they were supposed to save the day, but they didn't. Afterwards, there's some footage. I don't know if the footage is out there, but like Hobbs went nuts and like was super angry and stomping around. And I don't want to say he wasn't selling the knee, but it doesn't seem like he's selling the knee. Yeah. And he's supposed to be a part of this thing in Collision. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not saying I hold the book. I just hold my reactions and then present them as such. What could they have lost? What could have been lost if he made Hobbs just a transitional champion and Mox demands a title match and steals the championship back once again. At least that's like a hard, skip of the beat with him, and you can really say, God, we don't like this guy, and then you at least recalibrate it a bit. But I'm over it, man. I'm over it. I'm working on something for Sportskeeda about how this title reign. I'm gonna cut that voiceover today. This title reign has just been dragging, and I'm not saying that Moxley isn't a guy who shouldn't be in big matches, but he's just been around the world title so much,
right?
So much.
And this whole thing is like they're supposed to be the NWO, but they're not, and it's just like
no defined imagery. No, there's no defined iconography about them at all.
And the aspect is like they're like they do stuff and they don't. It's never definitive. Nobody is taken out for a long period of time. The only person is Darby, but that was after how many attempts, and 4 attempts or whatever it is. Like, and Darby kept coming back. But like they don't do anything that changes the whole structure of the show like they were positioned to at the beginning. And there seemed to be no end game for them when it comes to like what's their purpose. They have never really defined anything super clear about like, oh, but you just don't understand the ultimate purpose of this. And so, and nobody questions it. Nobody's like on commentary, hey, what are they doing? Like, what is their agenda here? What are they doing? Like, there's no end game. And I think there's so many frustrating aspects that makes this such a weak story, and that really affects the overall product. As this is supposed to be your top angle on your show, and it feels like it's really weighing everything else down. That I thought ultimately what I saw on this program was a great show.
I thought it was just good,
interesting,
it wasn't great. I think people throw the word "great" out too much.
For AEW, I think this was a great show. I think. Yes. From what I saw,
it's not a bad show. Yeah. I know I'm reaching on some things here. It's not a bad show. Like Telegraph, saw the Tony Storm thing coming a mile away. Megan Bain, pretty cool. She debuted. That was fun.
Yeah.
Not a bad show. Jeff with a comment. Everyone is going to have to cope with this Death Rider storyline.
Oh, well, I wouldn't be against just having the trade-off of Cope and FTR ending the Death Riders. If that's what they decide to do, if it ends this angle, I'm all for it, because it does not benefit anyone here.
Does Copeland win the world title?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. I think they want him to hold that title in their history. And on top of it, too, it's like you can transition that off to Christian Cage if you really want to, if he wants to cash in, or create an angle out of that where Christian doesn't end up trying to he cashes in, but he doesn't succeed against Cope. So I don't know. They need to move on from it. I think they just, just wipe it clean, get rid of it. Focus on Kenny. Focus on Ospreay. Focus on some of the stars you're really, really trying to build to, and like make what your younger talent feel more viable than what you're doing here.
I know I don't have a run sheet in front of me, but did you hear the skinny about who was backstage last night in Cincinnati, Ohio?
No, fill me in. I was not
All Elite Wrestling, reportedly. Former head of TNA Wrestling.
Oh, I did see this.
Scott D'Amore was present backstage in Cincinnati, Ohio for AEW Dynamite. Now, why was he there? I thought this was very, very interesting. Very interesting. And Tony Khan, president of AEW, gotten a lot of critiques. People saying you got to dial this thing in. You got to get somebody who really knows how to, get talent to believe the mission. And Scott D'Amore is a guy who gets very, very talented people to believe the mission, from my estimation and the people I've talked to who have worked with him.
Yeah.
And so that would, people Dreo and saying, oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if they make him a showrunner, basically.
Well, here's the thing. How much freedom is Tony Khan going to give to anyone?
100%. Is he going to allow the thing he's got all this money in?
We were on the conference call, like, what was it? And I asked him,
both you and I were on that.
Yeah, like, what his creative, what the creative future was. Like I wanted little details of who was still helping behind the scenes and stuff like that. But
He's been asked that a couple times in a couple of different calls.
and he just
And
said,
he elaborates that there was a team. At one point, Brian Danielson was on a creative
Mhm.
team. I know he said Sanjay Dutt was involved in it. And a couple of the coaches and producers are like their
yeah,
team.
but it seemed like a rotating volleyball team.
Yes, they did bring in that one writer from WWE.
Jennifer
All
Peppermint.
right. And that was mainly just for Mercedes Monet.
Mhm.
She had a video package on this week's show.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But I mean, it's worth saying, I don't think it's too critical. They brought a lot of big name talent over from WWE, and they've had some leave.
Yeah.
And you need someone that can center the talent. If the problem is it if you make Scott a guy who's number 2 or number 3, are people still just going to observe him as the number 1 guy that they go to? Is the locker room going to say, all right, Tony's the office, Scott's our guy? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to become that? And I'm not saying that's a bad dynamic. That's a very functional dynamic.
That is. Absolutely it is. Especially for Tony. Like, it's because
You might even say it's a dynamite dynamic.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm.
There we go.
That's, you want to, I just want to see Tony delegate a little bit more. I think, his biggest Achilles heel is that he does too much and that he's thinking how he likes wrestling, where he's not completely thinking about the grand scheme of it all and paying attention to detail in a certain ways because he's doing all this other stuff. I don't know. It's
lack of context.
Right.
There's but I mean, I think the video packages are helping.
Yes. Totally
and everyone's they're ripping off WWE with the video. No, they're not.
Nobody,
That's just telling stories. You know what I mean? That's reminding you who's there. And like when you have a 3-ring circus of a show, it's not a comic book with just 4 or 5 characters. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And people saying a lack of star power for a roster split. Some people wanting roster split. I don't know. They don't need it.
They got to
they got to make it
feel important though. I think, and I don't know necessarily how you do. I think that's just going to take attention to detail and time to make you build and make a collision feel like something you have to tune into. I don't know if you necessarily need a roster split. There just needs to be a lot of structural changes, I think, to make AEW feel like, comparable to WWE, not exact like WWE, not a cookie cutter WWE, but it's in its own thing. You want it to be like, okay, I'm invested in these titles. I'm invested in these talents, and I want to see what happens. And they got some legwork to do. I think, though, I just got a vibe. I got a feeling like that this is an opportunity for them to be like, okay, this felt like almost like a reset, almost. Because Taz is back. That arena itself, that the visual arena of that in Cincinnati there, I thought felt like a visual kind of feel to it all. If they just got to follow up and they can't just continue to tread water and cycle and continue this trend of them. Hey, here's a wrestler that you're seeing this week, and here you're not seeing them next week. So, I think that's something they would really have to do. But Kev,
especially with that level of depth, which is hard. It's just a hard thing to pull off.
It's very tough to do. You got all the talent on there, and you want to make sure everybody feels important. But hey, you're important. You got a lot of stuff to do. What's new on Sportskeeda for you?
Go over to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube. We are I want to try and crack 200,000 subs. Hopefully around WrestleMania time, but who knows? Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of Royal Rumble content that's just rolling out. We just dropped a video about where are they now. We talked a lot about AEW, but where are all the talents that left the company? How did they leave the company in the calendar year of 2024? Wow. So, and what were they kind of doing before they left? So who are they? What were they doing? Why did they leave? Where are they now? And in a good way. And a lot of them are very, very active in wrestling, not just WWE, but we kind of just lay out all of those circumstances. Santana, for example, was an interesting story to get into.
Absolutely.
I have a fresh interview up over on the WrestleBinge channel with this tag team known as Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. That interview is up now. You guys can also read articles about that on sportskeeda.com. I also filmed an interview yesterday, and I'm hoping this comes out in the next day or so with Tessa Blanchard. And it was certainly an interesting time to talk to Tessa.
Yeah.
Tessa is obviously someone that people talk about, mostly in a negative light. And she recently returned to TNA Wrestling under some very, very talked about circumstances. And her future is heavily speculated on why she came back to TNA wrestling and her exit from TNA wrestling. Kevin's a good fill-in. If he likes something, he says so. If he doesn't, he says so. He doesn't kayfabe the volume on us.
Oh, what? I'm sorry, Kevin. I can't hear you.
I was kayfabing the volume.
I know.
See what I was doing there? I was kayfabing the volume.
I liked it.
There we go. Kayfabes with Kev. That'll be my umpteenth wrestling podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, this interview with Tessa. We were supposed to do like maybe 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing like over 25.
How about that?
And she was extremely open about her life in the last few years. Okay. And you guys can look up the stuff with Tessa and what happened there. And there was an agreed upon. Sometimes people get. Do you ever have this when you go to do an interview with somebody, a wrestler, Dom, and they say, "Can we please not talk about this one thing? Can you please not ask about it?" Right? Yeah. You and I have been in that position.
Oh yeah,
many times. And I'm happy to say that I was asked to not bring up the controversial issue with her and things that she's been accused of, which are, by the way, none of them are illegal, but they're just not great. Right. Yeah. And so time has passed since those things. Right. And I knew that I was not going to talk about it because I agreed to do the interview. I was going to honor that agreement. I'm getting this time with this talent that has been arranged. I'm going to honor the person who arranged it. I'm going to honor the talent, not bring it up. But I did want to talk about how do you feel coming back into this situation? So there's a way to talk about maybe you coming back to life in wrestling in America, because she's been active. She was wrestling in CML with the lucha scene for years now, and was out of wrestling and was almost done with wrestling and almost pursued another life. And we get into what that life was, which was a very physical and arduous life that she nearly committed to. And it was very, very endearing and empathetic and very human to see someone speak like this. Yeah. And then we still got her being a wrestler, saying some truly nasty, nasty things about Jordynne Grace. So, I mean, it's still wrestling, So there was some stuff she said about Jordynne Grace that was just, okay. All right, you're gonna get. All right, I didn't know you're gonna. You've had interviews where people give you one of those, and you're just like, that's gonna upset people. So that interview is gonna drop on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Wrestle Binge channel. If you look it up, we have two different channels: Sportskeeda Wrestling, that's where I do the essay videos, and then Wrestle Binge, that's where we have the shows. Yeah. And we just launched specifically on Sportskeeda Wrestling. We have a YouTube membership now. It starts at $2 a month. We also have a $5 tier, bonus shows. Vince Russo reviewing SmackDown. We give away the Raw review, but we have a SmackDown review he does called Bro Down. We also have Gerald Briscoe and JBL doing What Were They Thinking? Oh, yeah. All right, so we have that show, Bill Apter's archive of tapes. We have interviews backstage at the Madison Square Garden from the 80s. Like, I love that stuff. So get all that at the $5 tier. Go over to Sportskeeda Wrestling, check it out. I know ad-free shows understands it. If you guys are ad-free show boys, you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting the goods behind the pay window.
You get them goods, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm intrigued to check out the Tess interview. I told them earlier today I'm interviewing her at 1:30 today. So
you're gonna have a great conversation. Yeah, you're gonna have a great conversation.
It'll be a fun one. So
watch both of our interviews with the same person with the same thing.
Absolutely, at the same time. Yes. Go back and forth. Pause one after one sentence and the other. But yeah, you can follow Kevin on Twitter at Kev Kellum. Be sure to check out all of his stuff. He doesn't just do wrestling; he does stand-up comedy as well. Yeah. So he's a busy man in the Chicago area. So
I think I'm going to be doing an album at some point this year.
I like it. Yeah. Drop some tracks with my baby tonight. But
hands on the clock and 10 to 0.
So, guys, if you like what you're seeing, you can always tune in every Monday through Friday to Rumor Innuendo on the Working Stiff YouTube, on Ad Free Shows YouTube, on Rumor Innuendo YouTube. Plus, you can check us out on SE Scoops X account.
Oh, wait, we're signing off. We haven't talked about Billy and the CW.
Oh, damn it. I know they had a big announcement to make, too. Billy did. I saw on NWA, but I did not see what it was. He's set to make a big announcement. We'll have to wait till tomorrow, Kevin, unfortunately. But you can check me out on X at Dom D'Angelo, and we live on there. We're live on WCreative_ish. That's Robert Karpolis' account. So be sure to check us out on there. But we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe Kevin will not be back. Maybe he will, though. I'm not going to totally release him, but I will say to you, Kevin, hey, best of luck. in your future endeavors.
Oh, thanks.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
man. Thank you.
We'll see you guys tomorrow on Rumor and Innuendo.